You were asking about the insects, and 5G. And there is no need for any study on insects and 5G. The reason is that 5G is a system that will use the radiation that you presently have, but will maximize it. In other words, 5G depends in great part on the 4G and 3G systems you have, but it's designed with the Internet of Things to increase that level of radiation enormously. When we talk about the middle band and the high band for 5G, that goes to maybe 26 gigahertz, you're talking about a higher frequency. What does that mean? And here is the explanation of why you don't have to study the effect on insects, because you know in advance what it will be. As you increase the frequency, the penetration depth diminishes. What this means is that the energy of the radiation, which is in 5G concentrated in a narrow beam, diffuses itself in very superficial layers, for example, of the human body. So in other words, already for the FCC, there are problems in that the SAR limits for the skin would be exceeded with 5G. So what they're going to do is going to change the standard to a power density standard. Industry always changes its views on human safety to accommodate a new system that is coming out. And they have done this consistently. Consider an insect. Some people are very worried that the size of the insects match the size of the radiation. Of course, that is a worry, but it's only a very minor worry, because what is important is what I call the surface to volume ratio of an insect. In other words, the smaller a biological being is, the more surface it has for a given volume. So when you're talking about a 5G antenna that sends a concentrated beam of radiation suddenly in one direction, and an unfortunate insect comes in contact with that beam, well, the power density will heat up the surface, and there is no volume in that insect to attenuate the temperature rise. So insects don't know to walk on sidewalks. They haven't been trained for this. So they're going to walk near the antennas. And in the case of 5G, it matters less because the beam is focused. And they're going to be, I wouldn't say fried, but they're going to be killed or impaired by radiation very, very substantially. Now, you can't imagine that the people who are deploying these things, who know something about engineering and perhaps a little bit about physics, they are not conscious of this. So you truly live in a world where people are schizophrenic. They're so enthusiastic about making a buck that they can't see what's in front of them. And unfortunately, as my friend Adam Smith predicted in 1776, industry doesn't care about harming people. It only cares about its own profit. And the sin that you have in your lap is that you have let industry take control of your politicians and get way ahead of you in making all sorts of decisions on this radiation without any opposition. There should have been opposition from academics. They were too busy doing something else, or they felt too weak. And now we have to rely on what? On lawyers and on people to reverse a historical mistake. That's not very, very easy to do, but it has to be done. And so you see all of these telecom executives sitting in front of Senator Blumenthal saying, we're not doing anything. The EPA isn't doing anything. The FDA isn't going to do anything. The only hope, apparently, is the National Toxicology Program. And this is only one agency in the United States. So there is a political problem here. And my contacts in Washington say this will not be solved unless there is a grassroots movement. So I hate to tell you this, but if you are, if your health is impaired by electromagnetic radiation, it will be your fault because you have not done enough to protect yourselves. People imagine that in public health, deleterious effects are very, very obvious and very, very clear. Most of the effects are chronic. Of course, we have the electrosensitive, who are the canaries in the mine to tell us that electromagnetic radiation is dangerous. But most effects need to be detected over time. By the time they become obvious to everybody and to research performed maybe in Iran, in Italy, and elsewhere, certainly not in the United States, it will be too late for you. Thank you.